Hi, welcome to Core Java for Beginners Part 5. In this video, I am going to introduce class and object. Okay, how to declare a class and how to declare an object and how to use the object in the main class, and we are going to see these concepts with the help of an example. Class is an object. A class is a method of encapsulation of data and methods which act on the data. Okay, so both the data and methods are going to be encapsulated in one unit, that is actually called as a class. Objects are instance of the class. We will see more about what do you mean by instance of a class in the future slides. Now let us look at the syntax of a class. A syntax of a class is going to be: class is a keyword followed by the class name, and you have open flower bracket and close flower bracket. Within this brackets you will have data members, at the same time method declarations, data declarations and method declarations. Both data as well as method declarations which is done here inside the class are called as members of the class. Okay. For example, I have class ABC. So I have integer A and integer B. So now I am having public void set data, which is nothing but there is a function which is written here. It takes two parameters and then something is happening inside. And similarly I have public void display data and I have a println statement here. Okay, if you look at this class ABC, integer A, integer B, set data as well as display data, all the four are called as members of this class. Okay, so now let us go more in details to the objects. As I already told you, objects are instance of a class. Assuming that we have a class called as ABC, object can be declared as ABCA. A is the object of type ABC class, ABC type, and ABC is going to be a class type of variable. Object can be instantiated as below. Once you declare the object here ABCA, as we have discussed here, you need to create a object instance by using new ABC with the name of the class. So after saying new ABC, this will be assigned to A, which means that object will be declared of ABC type and the location address will be stored in A. So we have more than one object. If you have more than one object, what you will be doing is ABCA, new of ABC, you have to create the instance of an ABC class for A object. At the same time you need to declare the instance of ABC class for B object. Okay, so basically what is happening here, when you declare an object, a variable name is given here, that is called as an object here. A is an object here, that will be pointing to one of the memory location in this in the memory here. Okay, instance will be, actual object will be allocated. For example, if I have two integer variables, 4 bytes of memory allocation will be done, and the address of that 4 bytes, the starting address of that particular 4 bytes of memory location will be stored in A. So now after saying A is equal to new of ABC, A will have the address which will be pointing to the ABC object. So that's why objects are called as instance of a class. Here we are creating the instance by saying new ABC. Now if you look at the primitive data type versus object, any primitive data type, if we declare a variable, a memory location will be allocated and name is associated with it. For example, integer FOO. So you have FOO and you have a memory allocation done for FOO. Since it is an integer, it is going to have 2 bytes of memory allocation done. Okay. When I say FOO equal to 7, the value of that one is going to store in FOO. But in case of an object, if an object is declared as obj1, there will be a memory allocation allocated for you, and it will have by default null inside that. When I say new of object, and that I am going to store it in object1 object what is declared here. So there will be an memory allocation done for the entire object, and then the starting address will be stored in this obj1. So that is the difference between primitive data type and object type. Okay, object. So object is an instance of a class which will have the address of the object, actual object, which is pointed to. Now we have seen that we have the class definition in .java. The following rules have to be essentially followed in the source file, that is in the .java file. There can be only one public class in .java file, and that file will have the main method. Okay, and the class name will be similar to the name of the .java file. So other classes which is defined in .java file will be non-public classes only. Okay, always public class in the .java file will have the same name as the name of the file. For example, if I have an public class as employee, and the name of the .java file will be employee.java. Next, after declaring the object of the class, we can access the members of the class by using the dot operator. For example, class ABC, you have integer a comma b. In the display function, you have the function here. This is the definition of the class, and you can declare the object and you create the instance of this ABC class and store the address of that particular instance in obj1. Now by using this obj1, you can access A, at the same time you can access the display function. So obj1 dot a is equal to 10, and you can call that display function by using obj1. So if you wanted to access the members of the class, you use a dot operator here. Who is available for accessing the class? All the public members of a class can be accessed by an object. By default, any data member which is declared in the class are public. Any public members in the class can be accessed outside the class. Okay, but this is not the preferred way of programming. Basically, encapsulation advantages of the encapsulation is that we are hiding the data, actually abstraction. Okay, abstraction and encapsulation go hand in hand. Abstraction is going to be hiding the data from the outside world, okay, or protecting the data from the outside world. All the private members can be accessed by the methods declared within the class. In other words, the private members can be accessed within the class. So now here if you look at this one, I have a class called as rectangle, and I have a private member integer length, and I have another private member called as integer breadth. So I have public void set data. Here I am passing two values L and B, and when this is called here, I will be passing two values, and that value will be assigned to this length and this breadth. What is this length and breadth here? This length belongs to the object which is calling this set data. Okay, so we will see an example and then explain more in the example directly. So there is another function called as display area, and that display area is going to display the area of the rectangle. Okay, so the length and breadth will be multiplied, and that is going to be displayed as the area here. So let us take this example in NetBeans and see how this is written and how it is executed. Let us call this as a rectangle program. Okay, then we will create a new project. So now if you look at this one, there is a public class called as rectangle, and within this rectangle class, public class, you have a main function, and you should also note that this rectangle is the name of the class which is going to be public, and it is the same name as the .java file. Okay. Now what I am going to do is I am going to declare a class called as rectangle. So I have a class called as rectangle, and within this particular class I am going to have a private member. Private, we have seen private, public and protected access specifier in the first video. Okay, so private means it is accessible within that particular class. Public means you can access it outside the class with an object. Protected means you can access the data member or a method for outside the class. At the same time, it can be accessed in the derived class objects also. Okay, so private, integer length. Similarly, private, integer breadth. Length and breadth I am declaring here. So I am going to say void, it is not going to return any value, get data or set data. I am going to set the value of length and breadth here, integer L comma integer B. So how will I set this one? This length is equal to L. Whatever I am passing L and B here, that has to be assigned to this length as well as breadth here. So breadth is equal to B. This is going to be L. Okay, so set data is a function which is written as public. Here by default all the members, if you don't mention the access specifier in a Java class, it is going to be always public only, unless otherwise you specifically say that it is private, it is not going to be private, otherwise it is going to be public only. So it's not necessary that you have to write public void set data. You can just leave it as void set data also, but by default it becomes a public, it is defined as a public member only. So now again I am going to declare one more public member, void area, display area. I am not going to pass any value here. Okay, so inside this I am going to print system dot out dot println. I am going to display the area is plus length and into breadth. So this length and breadth will be multiplied, and it will be combined with area is, and it is going to display the area of the rectangle here. So now I have two public members, two public functions within this rectangle, and I have two private members here. Okay. Now let us come to this display area function. I am not passing any value here. Since I am not passing any value here, if you say void, that is not allowed in the Java program. Okay, in a core Java program, you cannot write void as a parameter here. So you should, if you are not passing any value, just leave it blank. Okay, now you have declared there are two classes in my program. One is going to be class rectangle. The other one is going to be public class rectangle here, rect. Okay, so there is only one public class here, which is going to be called as rect, and the name of the Java file is also going to be rect. Okay, and this is going to be called as a the class which is defined by the programmer here, and always the public class rect will have the main program. So your execution will start only at the main here, which is the public class, which is available inside the public class here. Now let us look into some of the how to use this rectangle class. So as we said, a rectangle class, if I wanted to use it, I need to have an object. So how will I declare the object? First you give the name of the class, rectangle, followed by R1 comma R2. So what I have declared, R1 and R2 are two rectangles, okay, which is defined here. They are two different objects. R1 is one rectangle, R2 is another rectangle. Okay, so if I just declared, it is going to declare only 4 bytes of memory allocation will be done for this R1 and R2. Okay, and it is going to be null. Okay, so in that 4 bytes, how will I store my length and breadth here, and where is my data, set data as well as display data here. So if I wanted to create the instance of it, what I should do is, I should say R1 is equal to new of rectangle. Similarly, R2 also should be created. R2 is equal to new of rectangle. So now you have created the object and you have instantiated the object here. So R1 and R2 are two different objects. Let me take the first rectangle, R1. I will try to access the private member, R1.x, sorry, R1.len is equal to 10. Okay, if I say this R1.len, it gives an error saying that it's a private access. So length is private, access to the rectangle is not possible. Access to this length is not possible because length has been declared as private here. Suppose in case if you declare as public, then length R1 dot length is equal to 10 is possible in the main. This is the correct statement. Statement here. If integer length is going to be declared as public, but I am not doing that one. I am just saying private for the length and private for the breadth here. So what is happening here? Length and breadth is not possible. You cannot access the length and breadth using the object R1 and R2 because these two are declared as private. But here if you see this set data and display data, these two are declared as public members of this rectangle class. So it is possible for you to access the set data as well as display area by using this R1 and R2. Now if you look at this set data, length and breadth is getting accessed here within this set data here, because set data is a public member of this particular class, or even it can be a private member of this particular class, but still any member within that particular class can access any other members within the class. So your set data can access length and breadth, and displayed area can also access length and breadth directly here, because these two are members of this rectangle class. So any member, any public member or private member within that particular class can access any private member within the class. So now what I am going to do is, I am going to use one of the rectangle, that is R1 dot set data. I am going to pass two values here. Length is going to be 10 and breadth is going to be 20 here. So length is equal to 10 and breadth is equal to 20 here. So I am using R1 object to call this rectangle 1. So basically what is happening here, there are two objects here, R1 and R2. R1 is having length and breadth, R2 is also having length and breadth. Okay. When I am saying R1 dot set data, this 10 and 20 is going to length and breadth here within that particular method, which means that this length and breadth belongs to R1. So when I am calling this set data using R1, the length and breadth which is used in the set data belongs to R1 object. Similarly, I will say R2 dot set data. Here I am going to give some 30 comma 40. Here if you look at this one, this 30 and 40 is using the same function set data, but the object used to call this set data is R2. So your R2's length and breadth is going to be 30 and 40 here. So I can have R1 dot set data, R2 dot set data. Here there are two objects, and these two objects are initialized with 10 and 20. The length and breadth is going to be 10 and 20. R2 is going to be 30 and 40 here. Now if I call display area by using R1 dot display area, it is going to display the area of first rectangle. If I call R2 dot display area, it is going to display the area of the second rectangle. So you are calling this R1 dot display, this length and breadth is going to be R1's length and breadth. So it is going to multiply this length and breadth, which is nothing but 10 and 20, and it is going to give me 200 here. When I am calling this display area with R2, R2 has been set as 30 and 40, and your length and breadth is going to be 30 and 40 here, and it is going to display the area of this one. Okay. So what all you get here? First thing, when I want to declare a class inside this, I will declare as class rectangle, and it is not going to be declared as public class, because there can be only one public class here. And within that particular class, within the class whatever you declare here, all the data member as well as the function members are called as members of the class. Okay. And the members of the class can be declared as private and public. If it is declared as private, it is going to be accessible within the class members only, which can be accessible within the class members only. And if it is going to be public, any of the object which is declared in the main can access the public members of this particular class. Okay. So that is what is the what we saw now. And whenever you are using R1 and calling this set data, this means that 10 and 20 are belonging to the length and breadth, which is belonging to R1 object, and R2 is calling this set data 30 and 40, and this 30 and 40 belongs to this R2 object. Okay. So now since we have set 10 and 20 for R1, 30 and 40 for R2, we will see the different areas of these two rectangles. If I run this one, it is going to be 10 into 20 is going to be 200, 30 and 40 is going to be 1200 here. Okay. So this explains the class. So this is a rectangle program, and we are going to see about the employee program also in the upcoming videos. We will see how we can write that. Okay. Let me introduce a small pointer. There is a pointer. Actually there is no pointers in Java. So but actually we call it as a this pointer only, or this object. This object is actually a pointer which is going to be pointing to the this will be used within the member method of a class. This pointer is basically a member method pointing to the calling object. Okay, so this is an example here. Object 1 display, and within the display function this can be used. Okay, how will I explain this particular this pointer here, this pointer or this object? For example, if I go to this program, okay, here the length is what? The length is which length it is? This length and this breadth belongs to the calling object only. Suppose in case if I am calling this get data, set the data by using this R1, then length and breadth belongs to R1. Okay, how can I access this R1 here? Okay, that can be accessed by using this dot. So this pointer or this object can be accessed within the data members only, I mean within the methods only, public methods only. So similarly here also I can just say this dot length and this dot breadth. Okay, so it is basically an object. It is going to be an object which is by default given to us to access the methods. Within that methods we can access that object. So R1 is available to you as this here. Okay, R1 is available to you with this. Okay, I'll just introduce this pointer or this object like this with a small example here. Maybe in the next video I will give you a detailed example on this pointer or this object here. Okay. Now you can try this example. Define a class to represent a bank account. Include the data members, name of the depositor, account number, type of the account, balance in the account. Write the methods to assign the initial values and deposit amount and withdraw the amount, and display the method and display method also. Okay, so this is a very good example to understand more about your classes. You can try this one. If you wish, you can. If you wish, I have to do this particular program and explain you. You can write it in my comments, and kindly subscribe to my channel, which will help me to release more videos in this Java. Thank you. Bye.